Hi, everybody. I'm Alice K. Rucklehouse with SufferingWell, and I wanted to say Happy Pentecost. You might not be watching this on Pentecost Sunday, but I'm recording it on Pentecost Sunday, and Pentecost is important no matter what time of year we're talking about it. So we're just going to talk a little bit about Pentecost, and then I want to talk about our theme for this week, which is Martyrs. Okay, it may not seem that those two things go together, but they do. So Pentecost is the birthday of the church. And I noticed something kind of funny last year when I was making a drawing of Pentecost, and all the people who were present there, the Christians, they had flames on top of their heads, and I noticed as I was looking at it that they all looked like birthday candles. So I've kind of used that as a way of teaching children about Pentecost being the birthday of the church. But it occurred to me, and I haven't shared this until now, that in a way, it also kind of shows us the whole idea of martyrdom. Not that all of them ended up being martyrs, but some of them did. Many of them did, actually. But it's like, it's that being burnt up for Christ. And martyrdom doesn't always take place by burning. Sometimes it's beheading. Sometimes many of the Christians were thrown to lions or to bears, actually for entertainment for the pagans. Some were beheaded. Some were stabbed or killed in other ways. Maria Goretti, who's one of my patron saints, she was the youngest martyr, and she died because she refused to be raped. And so she was standing up for her faith. Martyrs are people who would rather die than to give up their faith or renounce their faith. Sometimes they're given the opportunity to renounce their faith. In some cases, they're told, if you will sacrifice to this God, then you'll be spared. It's kind of like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the book of Daniel, right? And so they, instead of giving up their faith, they are willing to die, or to die for their beliefs. In Maria Goretti's case, it wasn't, she wasn't given the opportunity to renounce her faith. It was more that she was standing up for what her Christian beliefs meant. So the reason that Pentecost is so important to martyrdom is because we could not do that without the help of the Holy Spirit. We need the help of the Holy Spirit to maintain our faith and to help us to be strong in our faith. And this is kind of what we celebrate today with Pentecost, is that outpouring of the Holy Spirit. And what had happened was Jesus had ascended to heaven 10 days prior to that, on 40 days after the resurrection. And then he told the Christians to stay in Jerusalem and to pray until the Holy Spirit came. And just a little side note, if you like to do novenas, which I do, those are 9 days long. Well, they prayed for 9 days until the Holy Spirit came. And so that was the first novena, seriously, the first novena. And I believe that's why novenas are 9 days long. So they prayed, they stayed in Jerusalem and they prayed. And before that, they had been kind of cowardly. All but John had deserted Jesus at the time of the persecution. John was at the foot of the cross with Mary, and they were hiding in the upper room and stuff. But when the Holy Spirit came down on them, and he came with a huge wind and tongues of flame that were above their heads, they became courageous. That's one of the gifts of the Holy Spirit, is fortitude. And they started just witnessing. They started telling all about Jesus. And what happened was everybody that was around them started hearing about Jesus in their own language. We call that tongues. We say that they were given the gift of tongues, which means that they spoke in languages that they didn't know, so that other people could hear the gospel. And that was pretty cool. And there were about 3,000 people who came to the Lord that day, which is quite a bit in one setting, and a lot of baptisms to do too. But that giving of the Holy Spirit and giving people the gifts of the Spirit, they all went out and they had the courage, and they had the other gifts that were needed to be able to witness for Christ. And then many of them, of course, were killed for their faith, so they became martyrs. So this week we're going to be talking about what it is to be a martyr. We're going to talk about some examples. Joan of Arc is one that we're going to talk about. And there are a few others one's from Uganda, one's from Korea, another one from France besides Joan of Arc. And so you'll have quite a variety of martyrs to think about. And we'll talk about some of the important things from their life and from their martyrdom that you might want to consider. So I'm looking forward to spending this next week with you. I know martyrdom is kind of it doesn't seem like a very positive subject, but I promise you it will be. And I hope that you'll be inspired by this. All right, I love you all. I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.